The first time I saw the alien girl, she was screaming because she thought I was about to devour her alive. She was shackled in a gravity cradle at the center of Hangar 9, skin glowing faintly blue under the station lights, eyes too large for a human face and filled with absolute terror. Around us, the war was supposedly over. The banners said victory. The politicians said peace. But the way she looked at me told a different story. She had been told monsters wore human skin. And I was one of them. But that was only the beginning. I am Sergeant Elias Ward, 3rd Orbital Infantry, a soldier who had survived 6 years of a war that burned half of Earth's sky black. I had seen cities collapse, alien cruisers split oceans, and friends turn to ash and vacuum. Nothing prepared me for the day our commanders lined us up and announced the Cultural Reparation Initiative. Each decorated soldier would be gifted an alien dependent. Not a prisoner. Not a pet. A living symbol of peace. None of us were prepared for the truth. Her species was called the Kelleran. The briefing said they were fragile, empathic, biologically valuable. What the briefing did not say was that Kelleran children were taught a single human myth from birth. That humans consumed conquered species to absorb their strength. I learned that later, through her shaking whispers. At that moment, all I saw was a small luminous figure recoiling from me like I was death itself. And somehow, Command decided she belonged to me. They removed the restraints. She didn't run. She curled in on herself and whispered something in her language, a prayer or a farewell. My translator implant lagged for a second, then caught up. Please don't eat my eyes first. The words hit harder than any battlefield explosion. What I felt then was not anger. It was shame. And fear. Because if she believed that, what else had been done to her? What I discovered next changed everything. Her name was Lyra. She was 17 by Kelleran cycles, which the scientists said translated to roughly 14 human years. She had been raised in a breeding enclave orbiting her homeworld, selected at birth for diplomatic exchange due to her unusually high neural resonance. In simpler terms, she could feel emotions like gravity. Strong feelings pulled at her, distorted her thoughts. And mine. When I stood too close, memories surfaced that I had buried under years of combat. Blood. Screams. Loss. She whimpered whenever that happened. So I learned to stand still. Learned to breathe carefully. Because every emotion I felt hurt her. But that was only the beginning. They gave us a habitation unit on the outer ring of the station. Far from command, far from tourists. Observe. Integrate. Report anomalies, my orders said. They didn't say how to talk to someone who flinched every time you smiled. The first time I offered her food, she cried. Not because she was hungry. Because she thought it was bait. I left the tray on the table and walked away. Hours later, when I returned, it was empty. She had eaten everything and cleaned the dish. She didn't look at me. Not once. Days passed. Then weeks. She slept in the corner of the room, wrapped in a thermal sheet, eyes open even in rest. I spoke to her softly, told her about Earth before the war. About rain. About oceans that didn't boil. She listened in silence. One night, she asked me if it hurt when humans grew their extra teeth. I laughed before I could stop myself. She screamed and slammed into the wall, claws scraping metal. That night, I sat outside the unit and stared at the stars, wondering who the real monster was. None of us were prepared for the truth. The midpoint of the story came on day 47, when Lyra collapsed. Her skin dulled from blue to gray, bioluminescence flickering like a dying star. I called medical. They scanned her and froze. One of the doctors pulled me aside and whispered the words that split my world open. She's bonded to you. Kelleran formed survival bonds with perceived apex protectors. The bond stabilized their neural field. Without it they died. But here was the twist no one expected. The bond wasn't meant to be one way. It fed on trust. And fear poisoned it. If she continued to believe I would eat her, the bond would kill her. I demanded answers. I got silence. Finally, an older xenologist told me the truth. The gifts were never about peace. They were about leverage. A bonded Kelleran could influence a human emotionally, subtly, over time. The program was a weapon disguised as mercy. And I was the test subject. That was not what I expected. I went back to the unit and sat on the floor, far from her. For the first time, I told her the truth about the war. About what humans had done. About what I had done. I told her I didn't deserve her trust. My voice broke. I cried. Soldiers aren't supposed to do that. Lyra crawled toward me, shaking, and touched my hand. When she did, something inside me eased. The nightmares went quiet. She whispered, "You hurt too." And in that moment, the bond stabilized. From then on, everything changed. She followed me. Asked questions. Laughed, a chiming sound like glass in wind. She learned that humans cooked food because fire killed parasites, not because we enjoyed burning things alive. She learned that soldiers were trained, not born. And I learned that Kelleran children were never hugged, because touch overwhelmed them. The first time she hugged me, she passed out. I held her for hours, terrified she wouldn't wake. But she did. Smiling. But that was only the beginning. Command noticed the anomaly. They ordered her transferred. I refused. They threatened court-martial. I didn't care. On day 72, armed security came to take her. Lyra screamed, not in fear, but in anger. The station lights shattered. Gravity buckled. Her resonance surged through me like fire. I stood between her and the rifles. "She's not property," I said. "Neither am I." The standoff lasted minutes. Felt like lifetimes. Finally, someone higher up blinked. Maybe they saw the readings. Maybe they felt the weight of what they were doing. The program was suspended. Quietly. Officially, it never existed. We were discharged 2 weeks later. I took her to Earth. What was left of it? We stood on a hill overlooking a half-rebuilt city. She held my hand, eyes wide at the sky. "So you don't eat the people you love," she said softly. I smiled. "No," I told her. "We protect them." She leaned against me, glowing brighter than I had ever seen. Years later, when the historians write about peace, they will talk about treaties and fleets and borders. They will not talk about a frightened alien girl and a broken human soldier. But I will remember. Because the day she stopped being afraid of me was the day I learned what it meant to be human again.